You feel exhausted. Not just a kind of tired that comes from a long day at work or a lack of sleep, but a deep, bone-weary fatigue that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. It is the exhaustion of constantly walking on eggshells, of monitoring your tone, your words, and your expressions to avoid setting off a reaction you cannot predict. You find yourself replaying conversations in your head, analyzing every sentence, wondering where you went wrong, what you missed, and how a simple disagreement turned into a character assassination. You feel confused because the person standing in front of you does not match the person you thought you knew. One moment, she is charming, attentive, and seemingly vulnerable. The next, she is cold, dismissive, or explosively angry. This whiplash leaves you feeling unmoored, questioning your own sanity, and doubting your perception of reality. If this sounds like your life, I want you to take a deep breath and listen closely. You are not crazy. You are not overly sensitive. And most importantly, you are not the problem. What you are experiencing is not a relationship dynamic based on mutual respect and love. It is a dynamic based on control and imbalance. When you are dealing with a woman who possesses strong narcissistic traits, the rules of normal human interaction do not apply. In a healthy relationship, boundaries are respected as natural limits that protect both individuals. In a relationship with a narcissist, boundaries are seen as challenges to be overcome, insults to be punished, or obstacles to be ignored. The disrespect you feel is not an accident. It is a tool. It is used to keep you off balance, to keep you seeking her approval, and to ensure that her needs remain the center of your universe, while yours are systematically erased. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward reclaiming your peace. You have likely spent months or even years trying to explain yourself, trying to make her understand your pain, hoping that if you just communicated clearly enough, she would change. But clarity does not work on someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Today, we are going to shift the focus. We are not going to talk about how to change her. We are going to talk about how to protect you. We are going to explore how to set boundaries with a narcissistic woman in a way that prioritizes your sanity, your self-respect, and your future. To understand why your previous attempts at setting boundaries failed, we must first understand the psychology behind her resistance. For a person with high narcissistic traits, their sense of self is fragile. It is not built on internal stability, but on external validation and control. When you say no, when you express a preference that differs from hers, or when you refuse to engage in an argument, she does not hear a boundary. She hears a rejection of her authority. She experiences it as a threat to her very existence. This triggers what psychologists call a narcissistic injury. To repair this injury, she must reassert control. This is why your boundaries are met with escalation. She may use anger, silence, guilt, or pity to break down your resolve. The goal is not to resolve the conflict. The goal is to force you back into submission. Recognizing this mechanism is crucial. It helps you see that her reaction is not about you. It is about her inability to tolerate anyone having autonomy separate from her will. When you realize that her outrage is a manipulation tactic rather than a genuine emotional response to your actions, you begin to detach. You stop taking the bait. You stop trying to soothe her ego at the expense of your own dignity. Let's look at the specific behaviors you are likely facing. One of the most common tactics is the violation of small, everyday boundaries. This might look like her showing up unannounced, demanding immediate responses to texts, or making decisions for you without consultation. When you object, she minimizes your feelings. She might say you are being rigid, controlling, or unloving. She frames your desire for space or privacy as a personal attack on her. This is a form of gaslighting. By labeling your reasonable needs as unreasonable, she makes you doubt your right to have them. You start to believe that asking for basic respect is selfish. This erosion of self-trust is dangerous. It creates a state of hypervigilance where you suppress your own needs to keep the peace. But peace bought at the cost of your selfhood is not peace. It is captivity. The more you suppress your needs, the more resentful and depleted you become. This cycle continues until you have nothing left to give, and even then, she will demand more. Another prevalent behavior is the use of emotional volatility to punish boundary setting. You set a limit, perhaps saying you will not discuss a certain topic after 10 at night, or that you will not tolerate being spoken to with contempt. Instead of respecting this, she escalates. She may scream, cry, throw things, or threaten to leave. This explosion is designed to shock you into compliance. It triggers your fear of abandonment or your desire to be a caretaker. You rush to fix the situation, apologizing for setting the boundary in the first place, just to stop the chaos. This teaches her that your boundaries are flexible and that extreme emotion is an effective key to unlock your defenses. Over time, you learn to anticipate these explosions and preemptively surrender your boundaries to avoid them. You become a prisoner in your own life, managing her emotions instead of living your own. So, how do you break this cycle? The answer lies in a fundamental shift in how you view boundaries. Most people think of boundaries as requests. They say, "Please don't do this," or "I would appreciate it if you stopped." In a healthy dynamic, this works. In a narcissistic dynamic, requests are interpreted as negotiations. She believes that if she pushes hard enough, argues logically enough, or emotionally manipulates enough, you will change your mind. Therefore, you must stop making requests. You must start stating facts. A true boundary is not about controlling her behavior. You cannot control another adult. A true boundary is about controlling your own response to her behavior. It is an if-then statement. If you do X, I will do Y. This shifts the power dynamic. You are no longer asking for permission to be treated well. You are defining the conditions under which you will remain engaged. For example, instead of saying, "Please stop yelling at me," which invites her to argue about whether she is yelling or whether you deserve it, you say, "I will not continue this conversation if you are yelling. If you continue to raise your voice, I will leave the room." Then, and this is the most critical part, you must follow through. If she yells, you leave. You do not wait for her to stop. You do not stand there and warn her again. You act. This action communicates more than 1,000 words ever could. It shows that your word has weight. It shows that you are serious. Initially, this will cause an extinction burst. Her behavior will get worse before it gets better. She will test the new boundary with increased intensity to see if you are bluffing. She may accuse you of abandoning her, of being cruel, of overreacting. This is the test. If you stay, if you engage, if you justify your departure, you fail the test, and the boundary collapses. If you remain calm and consistent, you pass the test. You teach her that the old methods no longer work. This process requires a level of emotional detachment that may feel unnatural at first. You must learn to observe her reactions without absorbing them. When she screams, instead of feeling panic or guilt, you observe the behavior. You note the volume, the content, the intent. You remind yourself that this is a tantrum, not a dialogue. You protect your energy by refusing to participate in the drama. This is often referred to as the gray rock method. Though it is more than just being boring, it is about becoming uninteresting as a source of emotional supply. You provide no anger, no tears, no defense, no explanation. You are neutral. You are calm. You are immovable. This neutrality is infuriating to a narcissist because it denies them the reaction they crave. They want to know they have power over your emotions. When you remain steady, you demonstrate that their power is an illusion. It is important to address the guilt that will arise during this process. You have been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your ability to please her, to manage her mood, and to sacrifice your needs. Setting boundaries will feel selfish. It will feel cold. You may worry that you are hurting her, but you must distinguish between causing harm and protecting yourself. You are not harming her by refusing to be abused. You are not harming her by requiring respect. The discomfort she feels is the result of her losing control, not the result of your cruelty. Her discomfort is her responsibility to manage, not yours to fix. By taking responsibility for her emotions, you enable her dysfunction. By stepping back, you allow her to face the consequences of her own behavior. This is not punishment. It is reality. And reality is the only thing that can potentially lead to change, although you must accept that change is not guaranteed. Your goal is not to change her. Your goal is to save yourself. As you implement these boundaries, you will notice a shift in the dynamic. The interactions may become less frequent. The intimacy may decrease. The drama may subside, replaced by a cold distance. This can be painful, especially if you are still holding on to hope for the relationship you thought you had. You may mourn the loss of the potential, the fantasy of who she could be. Allow yourself to grieve this loss. It is real. But do not let grief pull you back into the cycle. Recognize that the distance is not a failure, it is a clarification. It reveals the true nature of the connection. Without the constant drama and manipulation, what remains? If the answer is emptiness or resentment, that is valuable information. It tells you that the relationship was sustained by dysfunction, not by genuine connection. You must also prepare for the smear campaign. When a narcissist realizes they can no longer control you, they often attempt to control the narrative around you. She may tell friends, family, or colleagues that you are the abuser, that you are unstable, or that you abandoned her without cause. This is a projection of her own behavior. She is attempting to isolate you and discredit you so that you have no support system to validate your reality. Do not fight this publicly. Do not try to prove her wrong to everyone. Those who matter will see the truth in your consistency and your calm. Those who believe her without question were never your allies. Let them go. Protecting your peace means accepting that you cannot control what others think of you. You can only control how you live your life. Live with integrity. Act with kindness but firmness. Let your actions speak louder than her words. Healing from this dynamic is a gradual process. It involves rebuilding the trust in your own perception that was eroded over time. You will start to notice red flags that you previously ignored. You will recognize manipulation tactics in other areas of your life. You will develop a stronger sense of self. You will learn that your needs are valid simply because you have them. You do not need to earn the right to be treated with respect. It is your birthright. As you strengthen your boundaries, you will attract healthier relationships. People who respect boundaries will be drawn to your clarity and stability. People who seek to exploit weakness will be repelled by your strength. This is a filtering process that works in your favor. Remember that setting boundaries is not a one-time event. It is a practice. There will be days when you slip, when you engage, when you forget your resolve. Do not beat yourself up. Acknowledge the slip, recommit to your boundary, and move forward. Progress is not linear. What matters is the direction you are moving. You are moving away from chaos and toward clarity. You are moving away from self-doubt and toward self-trust. You are moving away from being a supporting character in her story and becoming the protagonist in your own. The path forward requires courage. It requires the courage to be misunderstood, to be labeled as difficult, to be alone if necessary. But the alternative is a lifetime of diminishing yourself to fit into a space that was never designed to hold you. You deserve a life where you can breathe freely, where your voice is heard, and where your feelings matter. You deserve a relationship where love is not conditional on your submission. By setting these boundaries, you are not closing the door on love. You are opening the door to self-respect. And from self-respect, everything else good flows. Take this knowledge and use it. Start small. Choose one boundary that has been repeatedly violated. Define it clearly. Decide on your consequence, and then act with calm consistency. Watch what happens. Observe your own strength. You are more powerful than you know. You have survived the confusion, the pain, and the manipulation. Now, it is time to thrive. It is time to reclaim your life, one boundary at a time. You are not alone in this journey. Many have walked this path and found peace on the other side. You can too. Stay grounded, stay clear, and above all, stay true to yourself. The world needs the real you, not the version of you that was shrunk to fit someone else's ego. Step into your power. It has been waiting for you all along.